Campaign officials addressing hundreds of donors on a conference call last night. The audio obtained by NBC News from someone who was on the call.
The media has spent a ton of time blowing this out of proportion.
He's probably in better health than most of us.
Yes, the Democrats live in a fertile world of fantasy, don't they? Joe Biden, who turned orange, he's now Orange Man 2. It's more Trump envy syndrome. Joe Biden turned orange overnight, and the Democrats said, no, he's in great shape. He's in better shape than any of us. Their relationship, not just to the truth, but to reality, is tenuous at best. Joe Biden, look at him. He's the very picture of health. His arms don't move naturally, and he loses his train of thought, and his mouth is hanging open, and his eyes don't blink, and he turned orange overnight. And I think they're challenging conservatives to point out that he turned orange because, they hate the orange man. Orange man bad. That's one of their hate on Donald Trump rants, right? But now what do you do when your guy turns orange overnight? What is up with that? That's what I want to know. Turns out there are a lot of different medications that might explain the overnight orange turn. We don't know what Joe is taking, but turns out antipsychotics can turn you orange, which is sort of strange, gotta say. Minocycline, I think that is an antibiotic, isn't it? No, that can turn you orange. They got chemotherapeutic agents if you're taking chemotherapy because perhaps of cancer or some other issue, and that can turn you orange. There are a lot of different pharmaceutical drugs. NSAIDs, these non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they can turn you orange. But whatever it is, Joe Biden turned orange. There are things other than pharmaceuticals that can make you turn orange too, but I'm a little concerned about Joe. I think they have a White House doctor. They should check into this because people don't normally turn orange overnight. It's a bit peculiar, I must say. But conditions like hypothyroidism and diabetes can make you turn orange, even pregnancy. And as we know, Democrat men can get pregnant, at least on occasion, even into their 80s because of the miracles of modern science and the patriarchy. Also, anorexia nervosa can contribute to orange skin. I did not know that. I didn't know that. But my friend Tom in Florida, he's following this, and the orange thing, little research on why Joe Biden turned orange overnight. It's more than a little weird. Yes, sir. Yep, that's a crazy thing. Your Democrat Party, they are not normal. There is nothing normal about them. That's for sure. Hey, speaking of the Democrat Party, let's go to the news media because they're very, very angry, like Marvin the Martian. They're so angry with the Supreme Court that they're threatening the Supreme Court all over the place. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, not the brightest knife in the constellation. She is crazy. She was a bartender and then suddenly a member of Congress because Democrats want to have sex with her. That's the bottom line. And they say, hey, I'd have sex with her. Let's run her for Congress. Her brother, AOC's brother, entered her into a contest. A bunch of lefties said, who should we run for Congress? We have so little respect for legitimate systems of government that we'll just have a contest. And the AOC's brother said, I've got a sister, she's kind of popular behind the bar. Maybe she could go to Congress as a Democrat. And sure enough, there she is. She's in Congress now. Pretty amazing stuff. But she tweeted yesterday, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she tweeted, the Supreme Court, because they came down with a verdict that about presidential immunity in their official capacity as president, acting as president. If you're acting on your own, you're not protected constitutionally by immunity, but acting as president, chief executive, you enjoy certain legal protections because otherwise Democrats will lynch everybody, put everybody in prison, and then kill them because the left is here. Boy, is the left here. But AOC, who is like congressional, I don't know, what's that? There's that It was that movie about the bunny at the sorority house. But she's kind of like Congress bunny. She's congressional bunny. And she typed, or someone did on her behalf on her X, she posted, "The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control." See, beyond its control. Now she must take control because she's a bartender and she knows what's best. Whenever I see her around town, I always say, Kettle One, rocks, twist, lemon, not lime. And she looks confused. It's kind of strange. All right, I haven't really done that, but I look forward to the opportunity. She said, "The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control." That's completely false. The Constitution is not a corruption crisis. Legally Blonde, it was Legally Blonde. No, I don't think so. It was House Bunny. It was House Bunny. The woman goes in and takes over as the mom at a sorority house, right? Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what AOC should really be doing. That should be the next step in her illustrious career, from bartender to House Bunny at a sorority house. I think that'd be a better step. Yeah, House Bunny. Yeah, Michael Shelton jumps in. It's House Bunny. See, he knows. It's House Bunny. Thank you. Need motion picture help. That's good. That's good stuff. And then AOC typed after saying the Supreme Court has a corruption crisis beyond its control. "Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy." Everything's an assault on America. They are an assault on American democracy in reality. They use the IRS against their political enemies, and the Justice Department and the FBI and the intelligence community. They have a corrupt news media that threatens free speech. They attack free speech everywhere you go. Free practice of religion, the Second Amendment. They attack the Bill of Rights everywhere you go. They are a threat to our democracy, not the people that join the military, become police officers, raise normal children. They have girls that grow up to be women and boys that grow up to be men. Remember that? Those were the good old days, weren't they? Then the Democrats came along. Pretty crazy stuff. So back to AOC. I keep getting sidetracked. "Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture." Authoritarian capture is a strange turn of phrase by a New York bartender. "I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return," against whom she will announce at a later date, like the little authoritarian fascist House Bunny that she is. Honestly, what an amazing dimwit. And this is today's Democrat Party. They are really something. So the assault on the Supreme Court continues. They've been laying siege to the Supreme Court for years because of their racist attack, which Joe Biden started, by the way, 33 years ago yesterday. It was 33 years ago yesterday that President George H.W. Bush, a World War II war hero shot down by the Japanese, rescued at sea by an American submarine, went on to become everything. And it was George H.W. Bush that nominated Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court 33 years ago yesterday. I was hanging out with my friend Mark Paoletta yesterday, attorney extraordinaire, and he was on my Newsmax show last night, and he knows the Supreme Court. He's been working with Clarence Thomas since the nomination 33 years ago. But never mind that. So the Democrat Party very, very upset about the Supreme Court decision giving the President of the United States immunity in certain instances, not universal immunity, but, for example, you're not allowed as president to go to Ukraine and tell them to fire the chief prosecutor that's investigating the company that's paying your son $1 million a year and your son's friend $1 million a year. That would still be, that would be Joe Biden in his official capacity as vice president, but not as president. We're going to have to go back to the Supreme Court and ask whether Joe Biden as vice president was covered in that corruption scheme. You remember when Joe Biden, you have that soundbite, I think, don't you, before we get to the crazy Rachel Maddow hating the Supreme Court, right-wing death squads. These people are demented and paranoid. But I don't think that this decision by the Supreme Court covers vice presidents. And I wonder if Joe Biden would be covered for corruptly going to Ukraine as vice president, telling the Ukrainian government, rife with corruption, that they won't get $1 billion in loan guarantees from the United States unless they fire the chief prosecutor in the country, who is kind of like a combination of the attorney general and a special counsel, who is investigating rampant corruption at the Ukrainian natural gas company called Burisma. And Burisma was paying Hunter Biden just shy of $1 million a year, and his buddy Devin Archer just shy of $1 million a year. Devin Archer has since been convicted in court of defrauding a Native American tribe out of about $60 million, if I remember correctly. And here's Joe Biden as vice president bragging about threatening the government of Ukraine using a quid pro quo that we will not give them $1 billion in loan guarantees unless they fire the man that's investigating a source of money for the Biden family.
I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired.
He could pronounce Poroshenko and Yatsenyuk back there. That was a long time ago, because I don't think he could pronounce Poroshenko and Yatsenyuk. Now, I don't think he'd remember who they are. But the important part of that soundbite is not the proper pronunciations of Poroshenko and Yatsenyuk to Ukrainians, but the fact that he threatened and used a quid pro quo, American leverage, economic power, to secure his cash flow into the Biden family coffers from a notoriously corrupt Ukrainian gas company called Burisma. And never mind that. Now, does this cover him? No, I don't think this does cover him. So I don't think he's in the clear. The Washington Times headline today: ruling gives presidents, quote, absolute immunity, end quote. Protection covers, quote, official acts, end quote, taken. Biden conveys his dissent. Now, this is a remarkable story, and I think I have believed, and I assumed that I knew for years, that presidents enjoyed legal immunity when it comes to carrying out their official duties. I know left-wing groups have tried to sue presidents like George W. Bush in the past for various things that they disagreed with, and they try to sue them personally and, civilly and bankrupt them like the commies always do, and that those have been shot down because presidents enjoy official immunity. I've seen this in the past. So I don't know why this comes as a shock to anybody. I assumed this was already true. Now, to what extent that extends into personal conduct and so on, I guess that was not well established. Now, let's go to the crazy Democrats because they're going bat guano crazy, which is not redundant or repetitive or unnecessarily duplicative. But they're going bat guano crazy over the Supreme Court. And let's go to, I want to use that Rachel Maddow, number 13 again, because it is Rachel Maddow. Look at the time. Rachel Maddow starting her thing. And now I'm going to have to take a break and come back to Rachel Maddow because she's going bat guano crazy over the Supreme Court, and she's making up all kinds of stuff. I think Scott in Orlando might get a lot of his news from Rachel Maddow, and I want to help Scott to catch up. I'm going to convert Scott. He's going to become a Trump voter before this is over. Scott just needs to hear the truth, have his eyes opened. Then he and his kids in their 40s, they can all join the American project and help save it for all of humankind.
I've sweated through my suit, flop sweat through the whole rest of the show.
Yes. I'm going to get to the MSNBC nuts in a couple of minutes. Even Jake Tapper is calling the Democrats Orwellian, or implying as much, for their phony spin on Joe Biden's failed performance in the debate the other night. But the Democrats and reality and Democrats, I'm telling you. Let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's talk to Jason calling from Kensington, Maryland. Jason, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good day, Chris. How you going, mate?
Very well, very well.
I was just listening to that caller earlier that was referring about all the murderers on this party. I mean, if you're talking about late-term abortions and people getting killed in riots and looting and that, I would class that as sort of murderers. I mean, the guy, from the sound of the guy, like he sounded he needed to eat a bucket of nails. He said he needed a little bit of a oomph in his voice. But my question would be is, why would you still be a Democrat? I mean, the last 30 years hasn't told you that you've been fed a big bucket of raw prawns. I mean, why would you even be a Democrat? I mean, especially if you're like Jewish or if you're a minority. I mean, you've just been fed lies and BS for the last 30-odd years, and you still line up and vote for them. I just can't understand people that still... I mean, if the last week didn't tell you something that was obvious, I mean, there's no help for them.
You know, it's so true. The bucket of... What did you call it? A bucket of... What? Raw prawns?
A bucket of raw prawns.
Raw prawns.
Actually shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah, prawns. Yeah, shrimp. Big shrimp. Yeah, no, that's sold a bucket. It's... I think here that'd be raw prawns. That sounds good. And get some of that red sauce with horseradish and some beers and go to work on that. But you're 100% right, of course, especially if you're Jewish, especially if you're a minority person, if you're black. How did they con black America into joining the party of Jim Crow, the party of slavery, the bullwhip, the tree, the rope? The Democrat Party is a stain on the racial history of not just America, but the world. And somehow, and I know what it is, Jason, and it's information dominance and having corruptly taken over education and not just higher education, where they all smoke dope all day long. Why do you think they call it higher education? But lower education, too, and they just leave out. I like to say the most insidious power the media has is the power to ignore, and that happens in academia and in education, too. And they've just written the true story of the Democrat Party out of the script, and that has served them very well. But you're right. You got to ask, why are you still a Democrat? And very good. I should have said it myself. The late-term abortions by the millions, and they're in support of that. They are, the party of death, and we're the party of life. We're the party of America. They're the party of not. All right, the Democrats, it's too late for them to lose their minds, but they're demonstrating the fact, once again, that they have lost their minds. And the news media overwhelmingly just front groups for the loony Democrat Party. And of course, Rachel Maddow is one of the leaders in that cabal of lunatics. She was on her $30 million a year television show last night on MSDNC. What's her viewership again? It's like each viewer gives her like $5,000 a year. I think pretty amazing stuff. Rachel Maddow last night, very upset with the Supreme Court. They're all very upset with the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court reaffirmed something we already knew, that presidents enjoy immunity constitutionally and can't be sued or criminally tried for actions they take as president of the United States. But the Democrat Party is undemocratic, and they are the left, and they are fundamentally anti-American. And other than that, I'm sure they're very nice people. Not really. I mean, Jason from Australia, brilliant, wonderful, and a great artist, too. Talking about, they are the party, and I don't know why I didn't trot that out on Scott, the late-term abortions, and they always lie about that, too. Well, are not, and then, it goes on and on. I love to tell the story about the two women, older women, who have been sentenced to prison, 5 years in prison for one, nearly 5 years, and 2 years in prison for another nice woman that stood in front of a late-term abortion clinic in Washington, D.C., and they got sentenced to prison for it. But if you attack Jews at their synagogue in Los Angeles, covered by the same law, the FACE Act, then nobody gets arrested and nobody goes to prison because it's Jews at a synagogue and the Democrats are the neo-Nazi party. But that's another discussion for another day. And the Associated Press piece on these women being arrested at the abortion clinic in Washington, D.C., we were supposed to be extra upset because one of the women arriving at the abortion clinic that day during the pro-life protest was in labor. Said she was experiencing labor pains when she showed up at the abortion clinic, right? And that was just a throwaway line on the Associated Press piece. Like, oh yeah, that's perfectly normal. Pretty amazing stuff. Better organs that way. They harvest better organs. All right, Rachel Maddow last night, very upset with the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court affirmed that the president has absolute immunity in actions taken as the chief executive of the United States in a 6-3 ruling, of course, because the three leftists are part of the Democrat Party's lynch mob. Rachel Maddow having a bit of a mental conniption yesterday.
I really did not expect that they would do this. And they, Donald Trump and his counsel asked for this 100% absolute immunity thing, which was insane. I would say they got 105% of what they were asking for.
Idiot. Well, first of all, 105% is impossible. There's only 100% is everything. That's all there is. You can't go to 101. You can't. It's just that's not how that works. But there she is. She's an Ivy League / Rhodes Scholar and highly compensated American journalists on television. Pretty remarkable stuff. And then Rachel Maddow, now that the president of the United States, and again, Joe Biden's going to be whipping this out the moment he leaves the presidency because, he's, I don't know, was he collecting money from China into the family coffers as part of his official role as vice president of the United States, and the family money rolling in from Ukraine and Russia, China, and one of the stands? Was that all in his official capacity? Rachel Maddow last night, they love this whole thing with the SEAL Team 6 to assassinate your political rivals. And this is projection again. It's the old Russian playbook accusing you of what they are plotting to do, what they're planning to do, or what they're already doing. Rachel Maddow.
Given that the hypotheticals over the course of these arguments, as you rightly pointed out, included things like, can the president assassinate a rival? I think we have to look at the Supreme Court's affirmative answer to that. Yes, you can. With as much seriousness as it deserves.
Yes, you can assassinate your political rivals. That's her interpretation, because they have damp fantasies when they're alone at night about murdering everybody that they hate so much, because they really love hating. And hating is their central thing. It honestly is. There is a justice by the name of Sonia Sotomayor, who is, not the brightest knife. But she wrote in the dissent, "The President of the United States is the most powerful person in the country and possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way under the majority's reasoning," she's attacking her colleagues on the Supreme Court, "he now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune, 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 immune," she wrote. That's what she wrote. "With fear for our democracy, I dissent." Now, she is as dumb as she looks. And honestly, if you're looking at satellite photos of her, you're thinking 2-digit IQ. They're just extraordinary stuff. And now, first of all, that's not what the court found. It's not at all what the court found, and Justice Roberts addressed that quite specifically as a matter of fact. But maybe she's not much for reading. Maybe reading, writing, not her thing. Pretty amazing stuff, I've got to say. The immunity, it doesn't mean you can murder people for political gain. That's not what it means. That's not an official act as President of the United States. And she should know that as a Supreme Court justice who's supposed to know a thing or two about the Constitution. I'd like to think, but I've been disabused of any such notion, that a Supreme Court justice like Sonia Sotomayor would be familiar enough with the central document of her existence that she would be aware of the fact that he can't just go on a crime rampage and murder people and they love this SEAL Team 6 thing. They honestly are crazy. This has come up before, the SEAL Team 6 thing. And they're just not the brightest people in the world, and they're not the most serious people in the world. Boy, nothing in there says the president can order an assassination. Just nutty. And by the way, she uses bribery. Bribery is a specifically impeachable offense, isn't it? And shouldn't she know that? President Trump was impeached twice while she was sitting on the Supreme Court, and now she's about to be impeached, or maybe not her, by AOC. What is it? A cacotocracy ruled by morons? Cacostocracy. Thank you. That's correct. Cacostocracy. We're being ruled by morons, and we call them Democrats. Pretty amazing, amazing stuff. Now, it gets crazier from there. And by the way, Sonia Sotomayor, I know you don't know much and you're not very bright, but there was an American citizen by the name of Anwar al-Awlaki. Anwar al-Awlaki was an American citizen, a Muslim man, and a terrorist. And Barack Obama ordered his assassination. He's an American citizen. And then days later, Barack Obama, who bombed more countries than any president since World War II, carried out another strike that killed the 16-year-old American boy, American citizen, who was the son of Anwar al-Awlaki. And should I mention that Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, recommended assassinating. She raised the question, could we use a drone strike to kill Julian Assange of WikiLeaks? Now, he is an Australian citizen, but she raised the question, and it was covered at the time. Hillary Clinton considered drone attack on Julian Assange from 2016, October 8th. It was discovered, and the people in the room thought she was kidding and then looked at her and said, oh, no, she's not kidding. She's talking about assassinating Julian Assange, as our chief diplomat, just by the way. And never mind the fact that Barack Obama used the IRS against his political enemies, the Justice Department against his political enemies. They lied to the FISA courts and used secret surveillance warrants to spy on and try to corrupt the political system in the United States of America. And Barack Obama, after ordering the killing of American citizen Anwar al-Awlaki, who had not been found guilty of anything, killed Anwar al-Awlaki, just amazing, a drone strike in 2011. And then a little bit later on, days later, another drone strike killed Anwar al-Awlaki's 16-year-old American son, Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, in Yemen. And, the Democrats, they're the party of death and late-term abortion. Isn't that amazing? All right, let's go back to Rachel Maddow having a conniption last night on her television show.
This is a death squad ruling. This is a ruling that says that as long as you can construe it as an official or quasi-official act, you can do absolutely anything, and never be held accountable, not only while you are president, but forever.
She misunderstands everything. It's, living is easy with eyes closed, bum, 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 misunderstanding all you see, dumb, dumb, dumb. Just your Democrat Party. Rachel Maddow It's a death squad. You can do whatever you want forever.
This is a president who has activated pro-Trump paramilitary groups that, wear insignia and T-shirts and hold placards celebrating literally right-wing death squads, right? This is a president who has talked about absolutely using the Justice Department to go after his rivals. This explicitly immunizes anything the president wants to do through the Justice Department, but all but explicitly justifies anything the president wants to do, full stop, to anyone.
I'm sorry, what? Pro-Trump military groups? I guess I missed those. And they're, supporting right-wing death squads? You need to start scaling back on the hallucinogens there, kitty cat, because your brain is no better than Joe Biden's. The activated paramilitary right-wing groups, uniform right-wing death squads, they're completely nuts.
Neil, she's arguing that he can assassinate somebody now. Is that what this majority opinion is saying?
Yes, that is basically what she's saying the majority is saying, and I'm sure that is how Trump will take it. And
just amazing, Katie Turd had a Democrat on her little MSNBC show. Neil Katyal is naturally a Georgetown law guy. Therefore, he's a legal expert. Oh yeah, he can assassinate someone. He can assassinate. And you people need help. You honestly, I say this out of sincere concern. You need a lot of help. Oh yeah, Neil Katyal, Georgetown law. Yeah, you can assassinate some. Well, Barack Obama did. Hillary Clinton suggested assassinating an Australian for getting a hold of leaks that were given to him by a, wasn't it a transgender Democrat military person? Good. Bradley Manning, right? It was what did Bradley Manning change his gender to? Chelsea, that's right. That's right. That's right. It was Chelsea Manning, Bradley Manning. Chelsea changed his name to Chelsea, said, "I'm a lady," and was in the military, the United States military, handed all the stuff over, and became a hero of the Democrat Party because, they love cross-dressers, among other things, and traitors. They love traitors to the American military and beyond. Yeah, Chelsea Manning. And didn't Chelsea Bradley Manning run for Senate in Maryland? Isn't that right? Yeah. Chelsea Manning, Democrat Party, ran for election to the U.S. Senate to represent Maryland, lost in the Democratic primary in 2018. But you remember, there was a song for that too, wasn't there? Woke up and there was Chelsea Manning. He was kneeling in my cell. It was jail, because he went to jail. That was the whole thing there. That's right. I'd forgotten all about that song. Woke up and there was Chelsea Manning. He was kneeling in my cell. And then the Democrats ran Chelsea Manning for Senate because they love cross-dressing traitors. And Hillary Clinton said, "Hey, let's kill Julian Assange in a drone strike." Everyone in the room thought she was kidding till they looked at her scary face.
I'm Chelsea Manning, and I approve this message.
Now, I had forgotten all about it, but my friend Jeff reminded me. The Obama administration, since they're talking about death squads and kill lists and how Trump is now going to use SEAL Team 6 to kill his political enemies because they're having childlike mental breakdowns. The Barack Hussein Obama administration created a kill list themselves, which they creatively labeled. Anybody remember this? Because it slipped me until Jeff mentioned it. The disposition matrix. It doesn't sound Hollywood enough, right? The disposition matrix, developed by the Barack Obama administration beginning in 2010, which went beyond existing kill lists for terrorists and intended to become a permanent fixture of U.S. policy the disposition matrix that Barack Obama used to target and kill people all over the world, including American citizens, without due process. No problem. He's a Democrat. Let's bring that to the Supreme Court. Let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's go to Dave, calling from Silver Spring, Maryland. Dave, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dave.
Sotomayor really is as dumb as you think she is. A number of years ago, I sat in on a morning session of the Supreme Court, and one of the cases that was being heard was about a child molester who had been convicted, sent to prison, and when he got out, they wanted to put him on the sex offenders list, and he claimed that because of double jeopardy, they couldn't do that. They couldn't add that to his penalty after he'd already had the case. And so what the case, central to the case, was the likelihood that a child molester would reoffend, which we call recidivism, or if the person does it, he's a recidivist. Uh-huh. Well, Sotomayor, the first time she said it, I thought I had dozed off and misheard her. She called it recidivism, not recidivism. And she called the man a recidivist and not a recidivist. And it was like, she said this 5 or 6 times. This was not a mistake. This wasn't I said often, frequently, only once. It wasn't one of those things. She didn't know how to pronounce the word that was central to the case. It blew my mind. This is the cream of the crop. These are supposedly the finest jurists in the land, right. The most intelligent, most educated, and she can't even pronounce the word that was central to the decision that was going to be made on the case. Recidivism, I like it. That is a great story, well told, Dave. That's great. Did you check the transcript to see if they corrected it for her? Because I bet they did. They do that at the Biden White House, too. They correct the transcript because of Biden.